Welcome. Today's topic is solving right triangles. Solving right triangles. Okay, solving right triangles. So, what we've been doing so far is we've been finding parts of right triangles. So let's say we have this triangle here. We're going to call it triangle um, L M N, and let's say that we know that this angle M is 90 degrees, and we're going to say that side this side N is going to be, let's say, 7, and this side is going to be 12. Okay? So up until now, we've been using trigonometry to either find this angle here, or we could use trigonometry to find this angle here, or we could use trigonometry and or the Pythagorean theorem to find this side here. Okay? We've been finding these three things. Okay? So now, if we are solving right triangles, essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to say there is nothing about this triangle that we don't know. So we want to find this side here. We want to find how long that side is. We want to find this angle, and we want to find this angle. The nice thing about this is you have options. You have things you can do to find any of these things at any time. You don't need, there's no specific, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Okay? So again, the nice thing that nice thing about these is all the stuff that we've done so far, you can use to solve these, and really in whatever order you want. There's no specific, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. So we want to say we want to solve this particular triangle here. All right. So if I want to solve for this third side, if I know two sides of a right triangle, I can start with the Pythagorean theorem. All right, I can start with that a squared plus b squared equals c squared idea to find this third side. So we can say, all right, I'm going to call a 7, and since 12 is our hypotenuse, b stays what it is, or let's call b L, because it is side L in this case, L squared, equals 12 squared. So 49 plus L squared equals 144. All right, so then we're going to subtract 49 from both sides, which will give us L squared equals, let's see, that is 95, I think? Yeah, seems about right. So then we're going to take the square root of both sides to get rid of that square, and then L is going to be equal to the square root of 95. So we can say that this side right here is the square root of 95 units long. Okay? So we found our side. Then we can find one of the angles. Let's say I'm trying to find angle N. I want to find this guy right here. So in order to find this angle right here, what I'm going to do is I need to use trigonometry. So I'm going to say, all right, if I'm looking at angle N, I'm going to use this side LM and this side LN. So I'm going to use LM is the opposite side. LN is our is our hypotenuse. And then just for good measure, this guy right here is our adjacent side. I'm not going to use this side just because if I made a mistake here, I don't want it to show up in our angle as well. So I'm going to use the side that's given to me. So opposite and hypotenuse means I need to use sine of our angle N, and sine of angle N is going to be equal to the fraction 7 over 12. So then I'm going to get out my handy dandy Desmos, and I'm going to solve for N. I need to figure out what angle N is. So first I'm going to switch my Desmos into degree mode, and then I need to get N by itself in this particular equation. So to undo N, we need to use the inverse sign or the arc sign. And when we do that, the angle and the fraction flip spots. And Now, when we go to Desmos, again, make sure I'm in degree mode, since we're working with degrees. Go into our function library. We want to be in the trig option, the trig tab, and we want to use that sine inverse, 7 divided by 12. And then we have that our angle N is 35.7 degrees. Angle N equals 35.7 degrees. All right, so this guy right here, 35.7 degrees. So now, to find this final angle, we have a couple options. I could use trig again, or since we know that each of the three angles in a triangle have to add up to be 180, I could say that angle M plus angle N plus angle L have to add up to be 180 degrees. I know that angle M is 90 degrees. I know that angle N is 35.7 degrees. But I don't know how big angle L is. I do know that those all add up to be 180 degrees. So if I add these two together, I get, let's see, 125.7 degrees plus angle L is going to be 180. And then if I go over to my calculator so that way I don't mess anything up, I take 180, oops, and by not messing anything up, I made sure to immediately make a mistake. Take 180 minus our 125.7, and that gives us 54.3. So subtracting 125.7 minus 125.7, angle L is 54.3 degrees. So this angle up here is 54.3 degrees. So when we're solving right triangles, at the end of the triangle, we want to make sure that we know each angle. So we have angle L, angle M, and angle N. We know exactly how big each of those are, and we want to know exactly how big each side is. So we found this angle, and this angle. Now we want to make sure that we have all three sides. Side number 1, side number 2, and side number 3. Okay? Once we find all three of those sides and all three of those angles, we have solved the right triangle. Essentially, there's nothing about this triangle that we don't know. Okay? So, let's do this. So, if we have this new triangle, what I'd like for you to do is pause your video, see if you can solve for all the missing things of the triangle. So, first we need to find the sides R and side Q, and then we also need to find angle R. So those are the three things we need to find. We need to find side R, side Q, and angle R. All right, so what are those three things? Okay, so what I'd like for you to do is pause your video, see what you can find, see if you can figure things out, and come back and we'll talk through the solution. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you found something similar to this, something similar to these for your the sides of your triangles and the angles of your triangles. The nice thing, you could have worked these out in a completely different order, but you still should have gotten to the same numbers or close to them. All right, so for me, the first thing that I decided to try to find was this third angle. Okay, because we already knew P and Q, I decided to say, okay, let's use P and Q to try and find side angle R. So I added P and Q together, subtracted them from 180, and I got that R was equal to 52 degrees. Okay, so 52 degrees for R, and then I filled that in on my triangle. So then to find this side Q, which was sine of 38 degrees, or excuse me, which is side Q, I used my angle P, which is 38 degrees. Then I said, okay, I have the opposite side over here, and I'm looking for the hypotenuse, which is side Q. So I did sine, again, of 38 degrees is equal to 6, which is the opposite side, divided by Q, which was the hypotenuse. And then I solved. So to solve this, remember we need to multiply both sides by Q. Whatever's in the denominator, we need to multiply by that. Multiply both sides by Q, and we have q times sine of 38 degrees equals 6. And sine of 38 degrees is just some number, so we can divide both sides by that, divided by sine of 38 degrees, and divided by sine of 38 degrees, leaves us with side q equaling 6 divided by sine of 38 degrees. Typing that into Desmos gave us 6 divided by sine of 38 degrees equals 9.7 and some other stuff, which rounds to about 9.7. So that's how I got side q to be 9.7. Once I found side q, now that I had two sides, I could use the Pythagorean theorem to find my third side. So I plug in, it started with a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Since 6 was a leg, 6 went in for a. Since q was our hypotenuse, q went in for c. So then I wanted to solve for r, so I squared both 6 and 9.7, got these two numbers. Subtracted 36 from both sides, and got that r squared equals 58.09. Taking the square root of 58.09 and taking the square root of r squared gave me that r was equal to 7.6, which is how I got the length for r. And taking the square root of 58.09 gives me about 7.6. Okay, so hopefully you were able to find these three numbers. And that's our goal. We want to find everything about all the rest of these triangles. Okay, instead of just finding one thing, we'll find all the things. All right. So with that said, that's about all I have for you today. Thanks so much. I will see you hopefully for our video hangout at around 2. See you guys. Bye.